What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Lightning Kid here, aka the Lightning Kid himself, yeah. And today, I have a special guest with me. You guys know me from Reese's Roundup, of course, and I do all my sports commentary on there just by myself. But this time is a little different. I have a guest, and he's going to be with me on all of these sports debates, topics, videos. Please help me put a warm welcome. Everybody put your hands together for Sean Mendelsberg.
What's up, everyone?
Okay, Sean, let me just give you guys a quick introduction. This is one of my closest friends, and he is an all Boston fan. So I know if you hate him already, then I'm with you for it. So being that he's a Boston fan, Sean, if you've watched my recent Reese's Roundup, I talked about the playoffs in the first round of NBA. And so far my predictions are going so-so, but the Celtics are who I'm shaking my head at. So tell me, Mr. Sean, what's going on with those Celtics, buddy?
Well, first things first, let's just get something clear. The Celtics, I think it's no surprise that they're the first seed. I think that I was the only one to see this coming. I don't think we saw. I mean, what did you have them ranked in the seeds? Like, what did you have them playoff tree-wise?
Probably fourth.
Fourth, yeah. I mean, honestly, I guess you could say the Wizards, maybe the Raptors would have been in front of them, maybe the Hawks. Like, if you're not following them over the season, I think right now they're going through a slump. You know, with Isaiah Thomas's sister gone now, I think it's a huge distraction. I think everybody now is on the team is just that's on their mind. You know, I think they're worried about their captain more than anything. I think Isaiah's a little shook. Even though his performance doesn't really show it, he scored 33 points in the first game. So I don't see Isaiah's trouble, but I think the team around him, I think that they are a little shook by it because they feel the vibe, they feel the, not the so much energy. So I think it's really shaking the Celtics, and they're getting smacked around by the Bulls, which I think people are really discrediting the Bulls a little bit. The Bulls have some, how do I say it? They got veterans, they got playoff experience. You can never sleep on Dwayne Wade. Rajon Rondo will always be Rajon Rondo at the end of the day, and Jimmy Butler is no scrub. So I don't think this should be a shock that just because they're the 8th seed that we should say, oh, look at the Bulls. They're the 8th seed knocking around the first seed Celtics. Like, I don't think that seeds matter because I think, through all sports, it doesn't matter where you are. Anybody can beat anybody on any given day in any given series. I mean, we've seen the Giants be a wild card team and knock off the undefeated Patriots in the Super Bowl. So you can't really judge by where people are. So, I'm a little upset with the Celtics. I think they will bounce back. I think they'll put up a fight. I've been giving them a lot of crap lately because they've been playing like crap lately on Facebook, and I said they'll get swept. I don't think they will. I hope not. It'll look bad, but you just never know. I think Isaiah will turn up the fumes and light it up. That's my opinion.
Well, I did say Boston in 6 in my video. There is a chance that they can come back, but it is looking very, very slim with the current way that they've been playing. Now, you did bring up Isaiah's sister in her accident, and that is sad, but I feel like this was going to happen either way now that I'm looking at it, because the Celtics, they can't do it with just Thomas, and it worked in the regular season, but this is playoff basketball, and team, you need a team to advance. So I don't know. I just don't, Horford's not looking too well. Bradley's shooting 35% from the field. All these other players are not living up to how they played in the regular season. And with just Thomas, he's averaging 26 points per game right now. It's just him. The next best guy is Al Horford with 13 points per game. So with that gap, it's not going to help the Celtics overcome the Bulls when they got Rondo playing well. He's stepping up fantastically for Chicago. Dwayne Wade will be Dwayne Wade, as you mentioned. Jimmy Butler is a great player himself, so a great two-way star. I don't see the Celtics doing well with who they have right now in the playoffs, and it's definitely showing. So
Yeah, and to touch up on that, what's really huge about this series is not even just the starting five. The starting five, yes, I mean, it's been all Isaiah, little Horford, nothing too much. But what really stands out the most is the Bulls bench. And I think people don't give the Bulls enough credit because, when they picked up players like Wade, when they picked up Rondo, and Jimmy Butler last year wasn't that great of a shooter. He was more of a scorer, like in the paint, but he was not that great of a shooter. When they got all these people in the beginning of the season, the main question for the Bulls was, who the hell's going to score? Who the hell's going to shoot? They don't got anybody. You know what I'm saying? And, this year or this playoffs, it's starting to, I mean, I don't know about Wade and Rondo. Rondo's playing good. Wade's field goal percentages and all that. But Jimmy Butler's shooting lights out. He's doing a lot. And that bench, when they come in, they totally annihilate the Celtics bench. Kelly Olynyk is a stiff and a half. Anybody can hit him. I mean, he's just god awful. And I think, you know what? You're right. Throughout the whole season, the biggest problem was that it was all Isaiah Thomas. Anytime you talk about the Boston Celtics, you're talking about Isaiah Thomas. You're not talking about the two-headed monster with Al Horford. You're not talking about Jay Crowder anymore. It's all Isaiah Thomas. And in the playoffs, obviously adjustments happen, double team happens, triple teams happen. Somebody has to step up offensively. Don't even get me started about the rebounding. They're getting out rebounded by every team, and it showed all year long. They're the worst rebounding team. From the eye test, at least. I don't know about stats, but they've been horrible on the boards. Their bench is inconsistent. Horford's inconsistent. Avery Bradley's inconsistent. Jay Crowder shows up when he wants to show up. I mean, you can't rely, and I'm not the type to judge size, but Isaiah Thomas is 5'9" at the end of the day. You can only put so much on so many, on somebody's shoulders like that. LeBron can't even he does it, but for years, and he's starting to wear down. Isaiah, he's been doing it all season, and he's, it's about time somebody steps up for the Celtics. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and they definitely messed up big time by not getting Jimmy Butler or Paul George when they had the opportunity to get them. And I was speaking with a fellow journalist myself, and he was even mentioning how these draft picks, they could have been used to get those players, and they just wanted to keep those draft picks because at the end of the day, you never know what these draft picks are going to do, and that Paul George is a star, that Jimmy Butler is a star, that these guys can produce for you each and every night. You don't know what the first round pick is going to do for you at the beginning of the season, or if he's even going to stay with your team at the beginning of the season. So I just don't see what the Celtics front office was thinking with not getting those two players. And now that they're noticing that Jimmy Butler is balling out on their team, they're probably regretting it.
And I just got one more question to touch upon this whole thing. This year's draft, the number 1 and the number 2 pick. You tell me, what have they done this year?
Well, who's the number 1 and number 2 pick?
Ben Simmons, he's out for the season.
Right.
And Ingram.
And Brandon Ingram.
It might have been vice versa. It might have been Ingram first, then Simmons. I don't know. But they were definitely the number 1, number 2 pick. And They both have done absolutely nothing. So what I'm trying to get at is the Boston Celtics holding that number 1 pick. I really hope they're not trying to use it in the draft. I hope that they're trying to use it to bait for a bigger pick. Listen, I'm not saying that Boston is going to go to the NBA Finals. I don't think anybody thinks that. I don't even think the Celtics think that. I think they're just trying to get as far as they can, see their flaws, go into the playoffs, see their flaws, find what they need during the offseason, and to go get it. I'm a little upset that we did not trade the first pick, but when you think about it, Paul George, I think this is his last year. He's going to be a free agent. If not, Gordon Hayward's going to be a free agent. They could try to, reel him in the free agency column. Get rid of, put Jay Crowder either on the bench, or if you have to use that first round draft pick and to trade somebody, trade Crowder. Get rid of him. We got another small forward who's a rookie. He's doing pretty good. He's done good for us this year. So, I think Jaylen Brown will be the replacement for Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder can go somewhere else. We could use that as a bait to trade for somebody. And if I'm the Celtics, that's what I'm going to do during the offseason if I can't attract a free agent. And I'm going to go for a big man, most likely Andre Drummond or something.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely see, because after the performance that the Celtics have been putting on, it's clear that they definitely do need help other than Thomas. So, with that being said, now on to my Grizzlies. It's not looking so good for us, Sean. I expected a fair shake, honestly. I know that they weren't going to win. I didn't expect them to win any games in this series, to be completely honest with you, and that's coming from a fan. But at the same time, the referees have been horrendous, and there are some people that say, oh, the refs are... They're not one-sided, they're calling it fair. Some calls were iffy, but it's the playoffs. It's going to be gritty. Okay, well, look. Kawhi Leonard.
Let it out.
Kawhi Leonard got to the free throw line 19 times, Sean. 19 times.
I wish Isaiah got there 19 times.
He wasn't even in the paint for those 19 times that he was hit. Most of them were on the three-point line. Some of them were on mid-range shots. So you tell me, Sean, how a gritty player like Zach Randolph, you know Zach Randolph well. He's been in the league for a very long time. He's always playing in the paint. The guy just very, very recently got a three-point shot, but he's not going to go stand on the three-point line and try to get fouled. He's going to be in the paint knocking people over, and if he gets hit, he will get the call. So you mean to tell me...
Throw an elbow.
So you mean to tell me, Sean, that Zach Randolph isn't going to get a call? 0 calls, Sean. 0. And he didn't even get to the free throw. He did not get to the free throw line that entire game in Game 2 against the San Antonio Spurs. But people want to act like he, it was fair. Some referees missed calls. But this, 32-15? Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
I agree, and I give a lot of props for the Grizzlies coach Fizdale for really standing up. Because a lot of coaches, especially Brad Stevens, I like to refer back to the Celtics because there's a lot of teams that do what the Celtics don't do, which I wish was different. You see Popovich on the sideline screaming at everybody, and then you see Brad Stevens just standing there with a little grin. It's like, come on, man, show some emotion. But what Fizdale did, sticking up for his players, I think, not a lot of coaches really do that. When you think about it, especially with the new rule, if you talk about a referee, you get automatically fined. I don't think Fizdale gave a damn. He's a rookie. He's a new coach. He brought his team to the playoffs, coaching. He's worth something in the league. And I watched the game, and I think all game I was texting you from the beginning when I saw, when I saw Green rip down Vince Carter from the neck. I said, did you see that? And, whatever. We just kept watching, and, it started getting a little out of hand where it got to the point where I feel like the Spurs, if you gave them an inch, they'll take a foot, and that's what they were doing. And honestly, the refs did not help. Kawhi Leonard, listen, he's a great player. You know what I'm saying? He's different. Like, he's not just a player. He's different. And debatably, he's the second best player in the league. And that we'll leave that for another day of another topic of another story. But, listen, I know, man, he's Kawhi Leonard. He's good. Just like how we look at LeBron James, Kevin Durant. Yeah, they're good. But come on, dude. 19 free throws. 19. When, like you said, Zach Randolph, he's a beast. He wrestles down in the paint, and he doesn't even get to the free throw line. That's a little too, not. And you've seen the emotions. You've seen it from, Gasol. Gasol was mad. Conley freaked out. When he got fouled and there was no call, I was like, I've never seen Conley or heard anything bad about Conley, but you see Conley yelling. I was like out of my mind about that.
Yeah.
So you definitely seen some emotions.
Yeah, it was absolutely uncalled for. And I'm not going to knock on the Spurs. I really do like the Spurs a lot, but it's not them that I'm mad at. It's the officiating because each and every time the Grizzlies were down by like at least 20, as much as 26 points in that whole game. And when they started fighting back and they came to within 4, that's when the refs started getting back in it and they started giving them calls that were absolutely ridiculous. And one play, I remember you were texting me, and when Gasol had blocked Kawhi Leonard and it sent him to the free throw line again. So I'm just sitting here like, what's going on? Like I know the Grizzlies don't. They definitely do deserve to be in the playoffs. They're a great team, and they fight hard, and they're a one of a kind team. But to disrespect and absolutely discredit the Grizzlies for what they did, how they were performing in the playoffs in that series. It wasn't just game 2. I mean, it was game 1 as well. It wasn't as bad as game 2, but game 1 they weren't getting much calls either. So I think it's just like what Coach Fizdale said. He said they're not going to rook us, and that's exactly what they've been doing. I mean, they're not giving the Grizzlies any credit. And I know the Grizzlies don't have many stars on their team. Marc Gasol he's definitely a rising star. Mike Conley has definitely been playing better this season. Vince Carter, I mean, I know he's old, but the guy is a definite Hall of Famer. Zach Randolph, he's one of the best low post scorers ever. So I don't know how you can't give stars like these the chance that, not the chance, but a fair shake. Like they deserve to go to the free throw line. They deserve to get calls split down the middle. I mean, I know the Grizzlies aren't that high market team. They're not the Thunder, they're not the Spurs, they're not the Warriors, but people know the Grizzlies and they know that they're gritty, and to be disrespected on a level like that, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And hopefully for game 3 it'll definitely be looked into, and they'll definitely give them the kind of credit that they finally deserve, because if it continues, then they're just gonna keep getting blown out in every series. And I know that the Grizzlies aren't. I know as a fan they might not win this series, but I at least want to see something exciting. And when they came back, when they were down just by 4 points and they were balling out and they were putting all their heart and blood and sweat and tears into that comeback, it was fantastic. And then they just ended up, the refs just started letting the Spurs gain the lead again, and I don't know, it just wasn't. I wasn't feeling it, and I don't like how this series is going for Memphis because of the officiating. And I know some people are going to say, oh yeah, the Grizzlies were doing bad in shooting and they were committing a lot of turnovers and all this and all that. But at the same time, I get that the Grizzlies weren't playing well. I know that it was bad coaching by putting Vince Carter on Kawhi Leonard, but I mean, at the same time, call it down the middle still. Like, it makes no sense to me. I don't get it.
I think, obviously game 2, you guys had a really good chance of winning. Obviously the refs weren't there.
For sure.
I think, just like the Celtics, the biggest thing is always starting off good. The Celtics last night they started off good, then they got punched in the mouth. The Grizzlies was like the other way around. They got punched in the mouth, and they punched back, and then the referee steps in the way. So I could see, a little frustration. I think we saw Vince Carter last night. He got a little riled up over something really small. And I think that we all start to sense that, the Spurs are not a team to fuck with. I think we all seen that. We all respect that. I think the refs think that they played too fundamental, that they don't commit any penalties. So I think the refs, the NBA, they all need to look deep into it, and they really need to buckle down, especially on blowing the whistle. Because last time I checked, the playoffs, they swallow the whistle a lot more than the regular season. I don't remember them blowing the whistle as much as I've ever seen a playoff series, ever.
Right, but it's not like that the Spurs weren't fouling the Grizzlies. It's that the Grizzlies were fouling the Spurs, and then when the Spurs would foul the Grizzlies the same way, they weren't getting those calls. I mean, Mike Conley was punched in the face on that layup in the fourth quarter, and nothing, absolutely nothing. But when Gasol blocks Kawhi Leonard and asks for a jump ball, he gets to the free throw line. Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't make any type of sense to me. And they definitely, I don't think they're gonna review it. They're not gonna look into it at all. They're just gonna play on. And Coach Fizdale, he got his $30,000 fine, but the players are paying for it, thankfully, because they knew he had his back and they got his back too. So that's a good thing. But aside from that, I don't think it's gonna change anything. I think Memphis is just gonna have to hustle their bustle and just play 5-on-8. That's pretty much how it's going to have to be for these next 2 games if they want to win.
Who needs to be a game changer for you guys to at least have a chance in this series, other than the refs?
Well, from what I've seen so far in this series, it's definitely going to be Mike Conley. In Game 1, Conley was absolutely stellar in the first half, and then in the second half, he only scored 3 points. And that's when Gasol he dropped 32. But in Game 2, it was Conley that stepped up, and Gasol, he only ended up with 12 points, and he shot like 4-14 from the field, if I remember correctly. So it definitely needs to be the two of them, but for me, I think Mike Conley definitely needs to step up. And it's not just him, but the entire team itself, because if one person's balling out, somebody else isn't, and that's just the Grizzlies for you. Like, it's never going to be the 2 or the 3 or all 5 of them. It's only going to be the one person, and they all have the talent to each drop at least 20 a night, well, aside from Tony Allen. And even Tony Allen, with his injury, it's definitely hurting Memphis as well, because, him guarding Kawhi Leonard would be a heck of a lot better than Vince Carter guarding Kawhi Leonard. And that's another thing. I don't understand why a 40-year-old is guarding an MVP candidate. So it just doesn't make sense to me, but, each and every player needs to step up if they expect to win and hustle on play some defense. Like, everything I've been seeing from this series is they leave a man open, and they always end up knocking down a heartbreaking 3 that puts the lead further and further away. So if Memphis can just step up on defense, get everybody on the same page, I think they can at least pull through and maybe steal a couple of games, hopefully.
And to touch up on what you said about everybody not coming together, not scoring at the same time. Like, if Conley's up, somebody's down. Like, you know what I'm saying? I saw that Game 2, definitely. Conley, I think his first 2 shots, he knocked him down. But then, my God, Gasol, God, Jesus. I mean, when did he...
0 for 5,
horrendous. And, by the time he started, once he started catching a little fire, it was a little bound too late. I mean, Zach Randolph, he was a little late too, but then, you look at Game 1, all right, Conley knocks down a few in the beginning. Gasol was already on fire, but then where did Conley go? Like, he scored 10 points in the first quarter and then disappeared for the rest. I mean, you can't have that. This is playoff basketball. Everybody needs to score. Unless you have a point guard named Damian Lillard, who's going to just drain the freaking 3 from 50 feet out and just drop 50 to barely win. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen against the Spurs. You guys aren't playing the Clippers. God forbid. I mean, that would be a series to watch, because at least, you guys would be going back and forth. But the Spurs, it's like the Patriots. They wait for you to mess up. Like, if you mess up, they're going to capitalize off of what you do. You can't play the Spurs game. You got to play your own game. And I think that's why you guys started coming back. You guys started beating them down a little bit down low. Gasol started catching fire. Zach Randolph caught fire a little bit. And, your bench also needs to get involved too. Vince Carter, obviously, he started last night. But just in general, Vince Carter, near the end, he was draining some buckets as well. He brought you guys back even closer. So it's definitely there. I think that's what you guys needed, was to see that it's there, to take that step closer. Because now you guys are coming back home. You know what I'm saying? You guys are coming back home. You guys are going to have the home team behind you. The refs, maybe they'll see the home field advantage a little bit. They'll wipe their contacts off and call a fair game, hopefully.
Yeah.
If you guys just lock down Kawhi Leonard, which I know is almost highly impossible to do nowadays because of the NBA, but if you manage to even contain him, I think you guys are okay, because the little things like Tony Parker draining threes, you guys can live with that. That's nothing that's going to, Ginobili hasn't done anything all series. I think you guys did a pretty good job containing Ginobili for the most part. Gasol, Gasol's going to do Gasol things. Like I mentioned about Wade, you can't stop, you don't ever underestimate Dwayne Wade. Same thing with Gasol. Just because, he's wearing like the fourth different jersey of his career doesn't mean that he's just some bona fide scrub. Like, he's still Pau Gasol at the end of the day. Matter of fact, Pau Gasol leads the league in three-point percentage. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, the Spurs, they just have way too nice chemistry. It's there. Everybody can snap, and you never know who to guard, whether it's Parker or Green or Leonard or Aldridge. Aldridge kills us every time we play them. So, yeah, it definitely needs to be that way for Memphis. Like you were saying, Randolph disappeared in the first game, and we definitely needed him. But I mean, even in the second game, when he dropped 18 points, and it could have been a heck of a lot more if he was able to go to the free throw line. So, I don't know. I feel like Memphis can really come alive now that, like you said, they know that they can come to within, and win a game. This is what they definitely needed, and hopefully it shows in Game 3, because as a fan, I definitely need to see them coming out and winning this game. Otherwise, it's not going to look good.
I agree. I think Game 3 will be different. You guys are at home. You guys are going to have that, not momentum, but you guys will have that fuel to the fire. Fizdale's probably pissed right now. He's probably, the crowd's going to be pissed because I'm sure they watched the game. So it's not easy playing in Memphis. People don't talk about Memphis, but listen, when it comes down to playoff basketball and you got a team that is known for defense, watch out.
Nobody wants to play Memphis in the playoffs. They're one of those teams that will really roughing you up, and I don't think that they'll win this series, but to keep it close, that's definitely what I want to look for. And hell, in 2011, they were the 8th seed and knocked off the Spurs in 5 games and they were the number 1 seed. So I mean, anything can happen in the playoffs. Comebacks are definitely possible. If they go down 3-0, then I'm calling it there. But aside from all that, I think everybody definitely needs to come together. Don't worry about the refs in Game 3. Just get the chemistry, focus, play defense, and they can definitely do it. Lock down everybody, not just worry about Kawhi Leonard. And hopefully Tony Allen's healed up. It was just a calf injury. He was out. I think it's been a little over a week now. So if he can come back and help guard Kawhi Leonard as one of the best defensive players the league has ever seen, I think it'll most definitely help Memphis.
I agree.
So we'll see. But I think that's going to do it, guys, for today for the Huddle. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Are we right? Are we wrong? We're definitely right. You're wrong. So who do you think is going to win? Are the Grizzlies going to come back in their series? Are the Celtics going to come back in their series? Or are we just going to have to suffer and accept fate?
Throw in the white flag.
Yeah, so let us know. We'll see you guys next time. Let us know what you guys want to see for our next topic, and we'll see you then. All right, later.